All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer where we're going to tackle an absolute philosophical giant. We're going to break down why the infamous trolley problem, that seemingly impossible dilemma that stumped people for literally decades, is actually, well, quite easy to solve. And yes, according to our source material, that simple solution holds true whether you're an anime cosplayer, a kid under 8, or some highly decorated academic. The beauty of this whole thing is that it doesn't require complex math or a PhD in ethics. It just requires a very specific kind of thinking. So let's solve the unsolvable, shall we?
Okay, picture the scene. There's this massive, unstoppable train barreling straight toward 5 people who are inexplicably tied down on a track. The only way to save them from where you're standing is to pull a switch right next to you. That switch diverts the train onto a different track, but unfortunately, it's going to hit one person standing on that alternate route instead. So what do? Would you pull the lever, or would you just do nothing? Just take a quick second and answer that in your head. Got it? On the surface, the answer seems painfully obvious, right? If you can save 4 more lives just by pulling a switch, you pull it every single time.
And what this brilliantly illustrates is the central conflict of our explainer today. Throughout this escalating stress test of our morality, we're going to witness a fierce battle between 2 totally different modes of thinking. On one hand, we've got academic mathematical equivalence, that cold, hard logic where 5 lives always strictly outweigh 1. But on the other hand, we have the human gut feeling. Now, this gut feeling isn't just some random emotional whim. It's actually your brain's highly advanced moral calculator, and it's running at like 100 times normal speed in the background. As we'll see, these 2 sides are about to clash big time. So, we start our test with Part A, the classic baseline scenario. The simple choice to pull a lever to save 5 people by sacrificing 1 person already on the tracks. Like we just said, saving 5 lives for the incredibly low cost of 1 seems like a total slam dunk victory. For mathematical equivalence, it's basically a multiple choice question with 2 straightforward options. Pulling the switch feels like a piece of cake because, hey, the math perfectly checks out.
But wait, let's see how this builds in Part B. Part B challenges our incredibly confident answer by asking a slightly probing question: would you actually pull it in real life? It kind of assumes you might have been bluffing in Part A. And the reality is, for most people, the honest answer is actually no. If you were physically standing out there next to the switch, feeling the ground shake, the situation would feel vastly different. Because despite what a 2D stick figure escaping a jail cell might suggest to us in these abstract thought experiments, real-world humans react very differently under actual physical pressure.
Let's think about the biological reality here. When you're faced with a genuine life-or-death decision, your body doesn't pause to do academic math. It enters one of 3 deeply ingrained survival modes: fight, flight, or freeze. And after a very quick, totally subconscious evaluation of your own abilities, your body will most likely decide to just freeze. You'll stand there completely gripped by the sheer terror of it all and probably just hope someone else who is way more qualified steps up to handle it. So seriously, don't feel bad if you wouldn't actually pull it.
Let's escalate this stress test to Part C, the heavy man. In this scenario, there's only 1 track, and there's no switch at all. Instead, you're standing on a bridge directly over the tracks, right next to a notably heavy man. You have the option of physically pushing him off the bridge onto the track below. He's heavy enough to completely stop the train and save the 5 people, but he will absolutely be sacrificed in the process.
So the crucial point is, would you push him? Academics will furiously argue that pushing the man is mathematically identical to the very first scenario. It's still trading 1 life to buy 5. And yet, when presented with this exact scenario, almost everyone instantly and viscerally answers with a resounding no. But why? Why does the exact same mathematical equation suddenly feel so deeply wrong to us?
Well, because your gut feeling, that high-speed moral calculator we talked about, correctly calculates a myriad of complex contextual factors in a fraction of a second. First off, in real life, pushing a human won't reliably stop a massive train. And timing a push perfectly? Practically impossible. Second, the optics are just terrible. You'd only push someone sufficiently heavy, which makes it look like you casually think heavy people are disposable while thin people are more valuable. Not a good look at all. But crucially, this guy is just minding his own business on a bridge, nowhere near the tracks. Unlike the guy in the first scenario who was literally standing on the active tracks, this man's fate feels entirely unearned and undeserved. Now consider Part E, which we'll call the loop. Imagine the 1 straight track with the 5 people tied down on it, but right before that catastrophic point, there's a little extra loop of track branching off. On that side loop stands the heavy man.
You can pull a switch that will divert the train onto the loop, hit the heavy man, stop the train in its tracks, and save the 5 people.
So, do you pull the switch for the loop? Academics once again point out it is mathematically equivalent to everything else. But this time your gut likely says yes. Why the sudden change of heart? Well, because pulling a switch is highly reliable compared to physically wrestling someone off a bridge. It looks significantly less bad on your part from an observer standpoint, and most importantly, he's part of the environment. The man is already on the tracks this time. Being on train tracks always implies a certain level of assumed risk. He's no longer just an innocent bystander minding his own business. He has actively entered the danger zone.
Okay, throwing a massive wrench into things, we reach part F, the hammock. Let's go all the way back to the original scenario, but this time, pulling the switch will derail the train completely. It goes flying violently off the tracks and ends up hitting a guy who is peacefully sleeping in a hammock in his own enclosed backyard.
Do you derail into the hammock? Once again, the math is completely identical. 1 life traded for 5. But the human brain inherently wants to minimize overall danger, and derailing a massive train into a quiet residential area obviously increases the total chaos. Plus, the guy in the yard is fast asleep. Neither he nor anyone around him will ever know that his sudden death supposedly saved 5 strangers. Hitting an innocent, sleeping man who is entirely removed from the perilous situation isn't just a math equation. Your gut tells you it's undeniably, deeply mean. The answer is a firm no.
This brings us to what many philosophers call the ultimate test of our moral calculator, the organ donor dilemma. Imagine a highly skilled transplant surgeon has 5 patients in the hospital, each desperately needing a different organ to survive the night. Sadly, there are 0 donor organs available. Suddenly, a totally healthy guy walks into the exact same clinic just for a random routine checkup. This one healthy guy could technically provide all 5 required organs. So, the question is, should the surgeon casually knock him out and steal his organs to save the 5 dying patients? Even though it is mathematically equivalent to the very first trolley problem, saving 5 lives for the exact calculated price of 1, everyone, instinctively and immediately, knows the surgeon absolutely should not do this. It's just unequivocally wrong.
And this perfectly exposes the grand, unifying rule of the entire trolley problem. When you're presented with these dilemmas, your gut feeling isn't sitting there doing simple arithmetic. No, it's frantically classifying everyone involved into 2 distinct categories: fair game and not fair game. The 5 dying patients missing organs, they're in the system, they're waiting, they are fair game. The person voluntarily standing on the active train tracks, fair game. But the healthy guy at a random clinic checkup, or the guy sleeping peacefully in his hammock, they are completely minding their own business in a safe space. They are unequivocally not fair game.
Ultimately, what you should take away from this explainer is this. The human moral compass isn't actually trying to maximize lives saved. Cold, unfeeling math does not govern us. Instead, our high-speed mental calculator is heavily focused on ensuring the outcome is fundamentally fair based on assumed risk and social context. That's exactly why the gut feeling is so incredibly powerful and usually so highly accurate in the real world.
Now, angry academics, deeply frustrated by how effortlessly human gut instinct solves their precious problems, might try to stump us with one final, impossible variation. They might ask, with mock seriousness, exactly how many criminals would you sacrifice, assuming they are tied to the tracks, to save a single revered Nobel Peace Prize winner tied to the other side?
But with our deadpan moral calculator fully engaged and joyfully ignoring the math entirely, there's a highly practical, albeit incredibly cynical solution presented by our source. Even if the criminal side of the track was completely empty, the absolute easiest answer is to hit the Nobel Peace Prize winner anyway. Why? So you can take the medal and run. There's no profound philosophical reason here, other than appreciating the delightfully dark irony of obtaining a literal peace prize by causing entirely needless destruction.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, lingering thought. As we've seen today, sometimes the hardest philosophical problems are easily solved when you just trust that high-speed calculator running quietly in the background of your own mind. So the next time your gut tells you something doesn't quite add up, whether it involves trains, hammocks, or heavy men on bridges, ask yourself, what other impossible equations is your brain secretly solving right now? Thanks for joining me on this explainer.